Welcome to the Nick and Nick podcast. This podcast is powered by Royalty Roofing and Siding. Crown your home and your commercial property with Royalty. Excited to have our guest on the podcast today. I'm Nick Prasosky. We have a special guest. He is the Executive Director of the Nebraska Family Alliance here, or out of Lincoln, Nebraska, right?
Yep, basically.
And his name is Nate Grasz.
Yep.
Correct me if I said that.
Yeah, Graz.
Graz,
Graz,
so
that's close enough.
Tomato.
That's right.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
He came all the way from Lincoln, came through the traffic to be with us, so I really respect that, and I thank you for spending the time. I look forward to actually this conversation that we're getting ready to have. My first introduction to you was at one of the galas. What's the gala called?
Yeah, our Life and Liberty Gala.
Life and Liberty Gala. I think the keynote of that one was Ben Carson.
Sure, yep.
You weren't the executive director at the time, correct?
Yep, that's right.
But you had an opportunity to share.
Yeah.
And one of the, what I left that conversation or that short time you had to share with was, it was something like this. Well, how's it go? The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing.
Yep.
Is that what you said, or did I just butcher
exactly
it?
Right. No, it's yeah. And
We'll get to that in a second. But was that you?
Yeah,
that was you.
Yeah, you're right on.
So you opened you opened that session, and we were all captivated by your, I don't know if it's authority, by your anointing, your ability to articulate what's on your heart with clarity. So we've been listening to you and tuned in. Obviously, I have my son's involved with the organization, as is Gina, and I think Mike Mancuso's on the board, so we got some connections here. But why don't you take a second and just introduce our audience to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate the invitation. And so I have the privilege of serving as Executive Director for Nebraska Family Alliance. I've been with NFA since 2016.
Okay.
When I came on as Policy Director, and then transitioned to the role of Executive Director at the beginning of this year. And,
so you're fresh in that role.
Yeah, fresh in that role.
Okay.
And, it's just been such a blessing to get to be a part of the ministry at NFA, helping to represent Christian families and biblical values in our state. And that's really why NFA exists, to help advance and defend truth. And so our mission is to help create a state and nation where God is honored, where families thrive, where life is cherished, and where freedom flourishes. And so we do that by influencing policy, mobilizing prayer, and empowering people to go out and impact both government and culture with biblical truth.
Wow. Okay, that's polished. You've shared that a time or two. Thanks for sharing that with us. But that's real clear. Now, past and present, you said you were a specific role. Now that you're executive director and you have a team in place. Yeah. Tell us about your team. How you guys are impacting the state of Nebraska, because it's the Nebraska Alliance.
Yeah, we're a statewide organization based in Lincoln, so we're close to our state capital and can get over there when we need to. We have a great team, great board, and we've just been blessed. God has just been so faithful to us and opened up a lot of doors. And it's really just about showing up, because politics is won by the people who show up. And what I often tell people is we care about politics because we care about policy, because we care about people.
Thank you.
It's the decisions that are made by our representatives that impact the lives of real people. And that includes children, both born and unborn. So our team, we have six team members on staff, board of directors, and we get to help represent Christian families, parents, churches, all across our state, on the issues that are being debated down at our state capitol or in culture, helping to keep people informed, but also, not just to report what's happening, but to actually go out and help influence it in ways that are good for truth and human flourishing.
So how do you do that? What is the strategy behind executing your mission?
Yeah, well, one, it goes back kind of to our mission and vision, policy, prayer, and people. But for us, everything really does begin with prayer, because we know prayer changes things. Yeah. And apart from Christ, we can do nothing. But the beautiful thing is, it's something we all can do. But we're daring to ask, what would it look like in our state if thousands of people or tens of thousands of people were actually all committed to consistently praying for our state, for our country, for life, for our elected officials. What would God do in our state and in our own hearts? And so we have a vibrant prayer ministry. Actually, the first floor of our office we actually use as a house of prayer.
Okay.
That people can come in and use for Bible studies or for prayer times. And one of the favorite kind of initiatives that we do is called our Adopt a Leader program, where you can sign up and we'll send out free resource packets with prayer prompts and resources to help people be praying for our state and our country. And we include with it actually a photo of your specific state senator, just as a reminder to be praying for them, for those that God has placed in authority. And I think the reason it's so important is, in our culture today that's just so politically charged, it's just so easy to forget that our elected officials, they're not just politicians. They're real people. They have families. They have problems just like we do. And we need to be praying for them.
Right. Tell us about your family while you're on that.
Yeah, absolutely. God's, just blessed me beyond what I deserve.
How old are you?
31.
Good for you.
Yeah, so I've got a beautiful wife. She's the brains and the beauty of the
Is she involved?
Yeah, she's an attorney.
That helps.
She keeps me in check and does a lot behind the scenes, and does a lot at home. And we've got 2 little ones at home, 1 girl, 1 boy, and it's just a ton of fun. We're having a blast. And figuring it out a day at a time. But that's where it starts, is in the home.
When did you well, you started out in politics, right? I've seen that you have a political science degree.
Yeah.
Came up through the political ranks and then transitioned from that into the NFA, or?
Yeah, never really saw myself necessarily being this, as involved in politics and policy as I am today, but I think that was kind of always there. And I went to Colorado Christian University and originally was there to play basketball and pursue, sort of a general business degree. And through some unique opportunities and relationships, God just started very clearly directing my path, and went more the political science route, and opened up some different doors where I was able to work for some different political organizations and on different campaigns, and then for Hugh Hewitt and his national radio show for a little while. But we grew up in Nebraska, love Nebraska, and so we moved back, and there was a position, a role opening up at NFA at that time, and there's not really a whole lot of organizations like NFA that are out there.
Right.
And so I hopped in there in 2016, and have been there since.
So how old were you in 2016? Because you're only 31 now. Where were you?
So you're making me do math.
You're
now,
like 20 years old.
Yeah, I was fresh out of college. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Okay, let's go State of the Union. Where are we? What are some of these hot topics, some of these issues that you're talking about that you guys are, championing and fighting for?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of different ways to answer that, but I think
it's not just on the pro-life, pro-choice front. It's also on other fronts as well. Am I correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and so NFA, our mission in advancing family, freedom, and life, that fleshes out in different areas, but we're really focused on, protecting life. We do a lot of work on protecting parental rights, upholding the family. We've done a lot of work combating human trafficking, and really just trying to make sure that, in these conversations and debates, that we're not losing sight of, how this impacts the family. That's the question that we always ask. And it's amazing how quickly, we can lose sight of that, especially when you start dealing with, dollars and different agendas that are out there. But I think when you look at all of the biggest problems in our society today, whether it's abortion, addiction, abuse, it all comes back to the same thing. And it's the breakdown of God's design for the family. And the further that we get away from that as a society, as a culture, the more problems that we encounter. And I think, what this comes back to is that ideas have consequences, but bad ideas also have victims. And the primary victim of bad ideas is children. And so that's why
the innocent.
The innocent. And that's why we have to be standing in the gap for families and speaking up for those who can't speak for themselves. And so to get to your question of kind of where are we at, I think, if we look, I remind people, recently, if you wind back the clock 3 years ago, 3 years ago, Roe v. Wade was the law of the land.
Yes.
Abortion's legal in all 50 states,
yes,
including up until 20 weeks in Nebraska, which put us on par with countries like China and North Korea. We had transgender surgeries not only being performed on children, but being promoted as good. We had men playing on girls' sports teams, and if you said this isn't right, you were
canceled.
Yeah, canceled. We had zero meaningful protections for children for online pornography. And then today, every single one of those issues has shifted in our favor. So I think God has given our country a moment. I think if you look at this, most recent election, I think the big takeaway is that God's not done. He's not done with our country. He's not done with our state. And so I think now is not the time for us to become complacent. Now is the time to build.
I've heard it said the opportunity of a lifetime must be seized in the lifetime of the opportunity.
Yeah.
You call it a moment.
Yep.
What moment, what opportunity, what culture are we in right now? Describe the moment as you see it.
Yeah, well, I think we're trying to figure that out. But I think we had drifted so far off course and getting further and further away from the truth that got to the point where more people started to wake up and to speak out. And so we need to capitalize on that momentum and make sure that it carries over. Because to be sure, we've got a long way to go and a lot of work still to do. I can tell you just from being down at the Capitol or things that we see in the media, the threats to children and families are very real. And there's a lot that's out there. But if not us, then who?
Tell us about it. If not us, then who? If my people who are humbled by, you got me on that one. But okay, so let's talk about, let's transition into by the numbers kind of stuff. Where are we at? Which direction are we trending in? We're in this moment in time. What do you see? What in terms of how long this moment's going to last, potentially? What direction are we trending in as it relates to some of these family issues?
Yeah, ultimately, it's going to be up to us to continue that work because, we are constantly trying to be pulled in the wrong direction. And the sad reality is that last year there were still over 2,000 abortions that were performed in our state. We're seeing the abortion industry send more women from out of state to Nebraska, and
because of the laws
because
here?
of laws in surrounding states,
Okay.
or clinics that have closed in surrounding states. And so we've been able to steadily improve and take more ground. And that has to continue. We want to see every life cherished and protected. But I think what's really important to know is when you look at the statistics, over 85% of all abortions in Nebraska are performed on babies that are conceived outside of wedlock. And so, it's not just a matter of being pro-life. Right. We have to be pro-marriage. We have to be pro-family. The greatest protector of children and of unborn children is marriage. And so we've got to find better, more creative ways to be talking about the importance of marriage. And I think ultimately it can't just be the state or laws that we're passing. It has to be through the church and through the people helping to shift our culture. Because ultimately, we're not just trying to win policy debates
Right.
or pass bills. We're trying to change hearts and minds.
Right. Which actually, it's a matter of life and death in many cases, in terms of the policies that the people vote for actually could determine the life
Yep.
or the death of an individual.
Yeah.
So it talks about the weight of that decision. What kind of pressure do you feel? Do you feel any pressure as it relates to the decision-making process, as it relates to the policies and the laws and your responsibility as the leader of the NFA?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, certainly we do. I mean, when you're grappling and dealing with these issues, there's a lot of darkness, and
Yes.
ultimately, these aren't political issues.
Right. Strongholds.
These are spiritual issues. And when you're standing up to forces that are seeking to silence biblical truth, that means you're going to face opposition. You're going to take some arrows. And our team has, had to experience that. But at the same time, there are so many people who are standing with us, who are praying for us, praying with us. But, we think about what God has called us to do. And, Jesus said that in this world you will have trouble, but take heart because I have overcome the world. And so that's our stronghold. That's what we hold on to. And at the end of the day, if God is for you, who can be against you?
Thank you. I was just going to ask you, what are some of your flagship scriptures? When you're covering them, I appreciate that. Championing a cause. Now, this is your this is a calling or a cause for you. When did you decide that this was what you wanted to devote your time, energy, and resources to?
Yeah, I think it is a calling. Something I felt strongly on my life, and really grateful for all the people who have supported us and who are standing with us. And I think, really, it's a calling that each of us has. And that looks different for different people. But God can use each and every one of us. And ultimately, everything that we have, whether it's, our job, our families, we've all been entrusted by God with what he's given to us. And it's our responsibility to steward that. Because we're going to be held accountable. What did you do with what I gave to you? And sometimes it can be easy to get discouraged, when you just see what's on the news every day and what's happening in our culture. But God's put us here, at this time and in this place for a purpose. He could have put us on this earth at any time, and he chose to put us here now, and it's to be a voice and a light for him. And so it's a privilege that we get to represent Christ to the world at this moment in time.
That pressure is a privilege.
That's right.
That's awesome. When did Nate know that? When did you have your David moment in 1 Samuel? When David came to the battlefield and he heard Goliath talking all kind of trash, and he looked at his brother and looked around and said, "Is there no cause?" I mean, are you going to put up with this guy? Do you not hear him? What are we going to do about it? When was that for you, when you recognized God was calling you to this cause, which was the NFA, the Nebraska Family Alliance? In other words, restoring families and saving lives, really, is what it boils down to.
Yeah. I think it really just became clear to me and impressed on my heart just during some of my college years, and just seeing some of the people that God was placing around me, and just how he was positioning me. And it just came to the point where I couldn't ignore what God was doing. And so I didn't necessarily know what it meant.
What was he doing,
or how God would use it?
What was he doing? Was he showing you things? Were you hearing things? Were you visions?
Yeah, I mean, it was.
I have a photographic memory, so when I see something, it's embedded forever in clear detail.
Yeah.
What did that look like for you when you knew you were called to this cause?
Yeah, really, it was. There were certain people that I was having the chance to interact with and to learn from, who were being brought into my life, that were kind of taking me under their wing and invested in me, that really had no business doing that, but they were.
Right.
and I just start to, really, really feel that.
Yeah, sometimes favor ain't fair.
Right. Yeah. And so I don't know that there's, necessarily one specific moment, but it was just sort of a gradual build. And I think something that was, even instilled in me from a young age, just growing up, and it just became more clear that, this is the direction that God was calling me. And so I wanted to be open to what the Lord had for me. And that was positioning me at Nebraska Family Alliance. And it's just been an incredible joy to get to serve in the ministry of NFA and see the real impact that it can make when people of faith are rising up and not neglecting our responsibility to be salt and light in our culture.
Give me a day in the life of Nate. What's that look like?
It depends. It really depends on,
generally speaking.
Yeah, what's happening at the Capitol, what's going on in DC. And it's certainly a mix. We wear a lot of different hats, but it's really a blend of, it being at the Capitol or meeting with senators or their staff, helping prepare legislation, responding to an emerging threat or something that's come out. We do a lot of relational work, but the biggest thing is the relationships.
With organizations or with
elected officials, with people at the Capitol, with other organizations, because if you want to move a bill, if you want to stop a bill,
right,
you can have all the right answers, you can know more than anybody else in the room, but if you don't have the relationships, if you don't have the trust, if you don't have the credibility, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And so, we invest a lot into intentionally building those relationships, to being a resource for our elected officials, for their staff, and also being a resource for churches, for pastors, to help them be equipped and empowered and engaged on these issues. So there's a lot of meetings, a lot of strategic planning, a lot of research, a lot of writing,
and a huge gala coming up.
That's right. A lot of networking, different speaking engagements or
Sure.
opportunities. So we stay busy, but love what I get to do.
Yeah,
so.
You mentioned the local church.
Yep.
What role does the local church play in, what NFA is doing in the culture, in Nebraska's culture?
It's huge.
Yeah.
The biggest difference maker in government and in culture can and should be the church. And it's not that churches should be political, and you'll hear that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Churches shouldn't be political. But I think we have to define our terms. What does that mean? Because most often that idea, that expression means I don't want to hear the church talking about this certain issue.
I don't want to be told how to vote.
Right. But I think, okay, churches shouldn't be political, but they should be biblical. The Bible doesn't give us a list of issues that we should and shouldn't talk about. What Scripture tells us is, the heart of the Father and what God cares about. And if God cares about an issue, we should care about it too. And part of being salt and light means standing for truth and pursuing righteousness. And one of my favorite quotes from C.S. Lewis, he said that there's no neutral ground. There's no neutral ground. Every square inch, every split second is claimed by God and counterclaimed by Satan. And so, while we've been given the opportunity, we should claim some territory, not for ourselves, not to pursue power, but to pursue justice, and to be a light for truth, because ultimately politics can't save us. Only the gospel of Jesus Christ can do that. But we can absolutely use our influence and the voice God gave us to influence law, government, and culture for good. And I think we see that throughout the Bible, right? I mean, tell, David or Daniel or Jeremiah or Nehemiah or Moses that, hey, don't be political.
Right.
It's not about being political. It's about doing what's right.
It's about being biblical, right?
That's right.
Good point. Let's go Another thing I remember from one of those galas was when we had Ben Carson. I think it was Ben Carson. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But he was talking about, and what stuck with me because it's embedded in my subconscious about, was it him talking about pulling out body parts during an abortion?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that. Is that a political issue or a policy thing? I've seen something about it on your Facebook, I think. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, one of
Was it Ben or
well,
Dr. Ben Carson?
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
and Dr. Carson, I mean, yeah, what an incredible man, and he's just been so outspoken about his faith and his beliefs, and so we're really thankful to bring him to Nebraska a couple of years ago, and he talked about because he's a brain surgeon,
Correct.
He's a brilliant guy, he talked about we can do surgery on babies in utero in the womb. But we could take a baby at that same gestational age, and if it's in an abortion clinic, their life can be ended. And so there's this cognitive dissonance that's taking place, and so we've got a lot of work to do, culturally, politically, to help change more hearts and minds, and to strengthen our laws to help not only protect babies, whose lives are being lost, but the women who are being harmed by the abortion industry, the men who are being harmed, the families who are being harmed. One of the things that I tell people, because I mean this is such a hot button issue, right? And it's really where you get a lot of emotion from people, particularly when churches start talking about it. People get nervous. What I tell people, the church has to talk about this issue, because what separates abortion from every other issue is, at its core, abortion is the antithesis of the gospel. Abortion is the anti-gospel because abortion looks at a child and says, while you are innocent, you die for me. But the gospel of Jesus Christ looks at each and every one of us and says, while you are guilty, Christ died for you. And so this is a gospel issue. Jesus said, I've come to give life and to give it abundantly. And when we're being a voice for life, we're proclaiming the gospel. And if the church can't do that or won't do that, there's no one left.
Are we not doing it? Is the church not doing it? Or are we doing it? Or at what level are we doing it?
Yeah, there are so many churches who absolutely are.
Or the church is what I'm referencing, I think.
Yeah, right. I think it looks different in different churches. And I think, collectively, the Big C Church, can and needs to do more to talk about this issue, to shepherd. Because the reality is, everyone's being discipled, by something or someone.
Facebook, Instagram.
And so the church is the one place where people can go to get the truth. And so if we're not doing it, someone else will. But it's probably not going to be in a way that is actually in accordance with the truth. And that's really, I think the biggest thing I've seen, when Christians disengage from government and the political process, we create a gap. And that gap gets filled by everything except the truth, and everything except for the gospel of Jesus Christ.
What's in that gap? Is that media?
Yeah, it's
I know media is the place between what actually happened and what.
Yeah.
It's the medium in between.
It's bad information. It's false ideologies. It's media. It's social media. I mean, it's we can try to avoid certain issues,
Right.
And I think sometimes that's the temptation. Sort of this. Well, I'm just going to avoid politics entirely, and that'll be better.
Right. It'll be safer for me.
It'll be safer.
If I do. I won't get canceled because nobody really knows.
It's easier.
What I stand for.
It's easier, to be sure.
Right.
But these issues aren't avoiding us. Right?
No.
They're not avoiding, the families when they walk out of the church doors on Sunday. They're not avoiding, our kids, in public schools. They're not avoiding, kids online. We're encountering these very real problems. And we have to be there to help shepherd and guide and to proclaim and defend truth.
Our significance in life is based upon the size of the cause we live for and the price we are willing to pay to see it accomplished. What kind of price are you paying? Have you paid? Are you willing to pay to see this mission accomplished?
Yeah.
I know it's costly.
There have been times, there have been days, we get, sometimes we'll show up to work and there's, some pretty hateful messages that have been written outside of our office. We get the phone calls and the emails and, the comments on social media and threats, against us. It's a small price to pay at the end of the day. And, you look at, Christians throughout history or the apostles and, they were rejoicing that they were even considered worthy to suffer for the gospel.
Count it all joy.
And so that has to be our mindset. We do count it all joy. And yeah, it can come at a cost. But, part of, following Jesus, we're not promised success or earthly popularity. In fact, we're told that the world will hate us. But that's because we're not of the world and we've been chosen out of the world. That is why the world hates you. And so if we look just like the world, that would be a big problem. If we actually believe what we say we believe, we should look different. And to be clear, that doesn't mean that we go out of our way
be weird
to seek, disapproval or persecution or stir things up. By no means. We're also told to, season our words with grace and to be wise as serpents. And, it's not just what we say that matters, but how we say it. And we want to reflect Christ in everything that we do. And so that's always our approach, that even if people disagree with us, that they would never be able to say that we didn't treat them with kindness and respect and dignity.
And one model that we've always went by is preach the gospel at all times, but use words only when necessary, and make sure those words are in the right tone with a strategy.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about strategy. How do you influence people? What's your strategy of influence for some lawmakers, policyholders, people that are making the decisions, voters? What is your strategy to influence people to align with your mission?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it takes a lot of prayer, a lot of discernment. Obviously we have, our guiding beliefs and principles that, we don't move from. And at the same time, we're operating in a broken, fallen, sinful world. There are so many challenges and obstacles, down at the legislature, just with certain rules. And so it's sort of a, constantly evolving process in terms of, how do we best approach this specific issue at this time? But really it's always about showing up to advocate for the truth.
That's half the battle, right? Is showing up.
Exactly, is showing up. It's that consistency, that persistence, that witness. And things don't always happen as quickly as we want them to.
Sure.
Right? It takes time. Just culturally and certainly working with government, we all know can be incredibly inefficient. But we keep showing up. We keep doing what's right, keep being faithful to what God has called us to do. And ultimately the results are God's. We haven't been called to be successful. We've been called to be faithful. And so it's a matter of showing up, of giving our best, and trying to be, a faithful witness to Christ and to the truth. And, if we do that, I think we can, rest knowing that, we've done everything that we can, and continue to point people to the one thing that matters.
Sure. As the executive director, I mean, you're leading an organization that is, making life and death decisions as it relates to the unborn, right? I mean, you're taking into consideration and debating policies and that are life and death related. How do you discern the voice of God as the leader of an organization?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with God's word, being in the Word.
It's got to be in alignment.
Yep, that's the beginning, that's the middle, that's the end. We surround ourselves with wise counsel.
So we got the Word, right? The capital
Yep.
W-O-R-D. So we
Yep.
got the written Word.
Yep,
We got the spoken Word that you hear.
yep,
And then we also got this, the third form is a rhema or a rama word. It's the word that you can see in pictures. So it's the capital W-O-R-D in three different forms that is allowing us to filter. This is God, this isn't God,
yeah.
to create that alignment and congruency.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, yeah, it's that's where everything starts is with God's word, and being in tune with the Spirit and being open to what He would have for us. And certainly a lot of it is, things happen outside of our control, or threats emerge that we can't always foresee, or certainly that we don't ask for. But we know that hey, if we don't show up here and speak against this,
Right.
no one else will. And so that's one of the questions that we ask. What would our state look like without Nebraska Family Alliance? If we don't step into this space or this issue, is there anyone else who will or who can? So part of it is assessing, where we needed most. Because as we talked about, there's an endless list of challenges or things we could be doing or working on.
Right.
So we try and be really intentional on where we're investing our time, our
Yes.
energy, our resources. Where is it most needed? Right now,
Right.
today. Where is it going to be needed tomorrow? How can we help position other people to make an impact? How can we be raising up new leaders and equipping the church to be the church? And so it takes a lot, but we're blessed with a lot of great support and people who are supporting us and pulling in the right direction.
Yeah, it sounds like to me you just described the definition of wisdom, knowing what to do when. Is that wisdom? In some form?
Right.
Because that takes me into my next question.
Yeah.
And this may be personal, but I'm sure you're willing to share. What do you pray? How do you pray? What does your prayer sound like? Your prayers. How do you direct them?
God's
Sorry,
will. Yeah.
sorry, that's open-ended.
It's, seeking God's will.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, again, there's just so much, to pray into or try to process. But really for me, the most important thing each day is that I would do the will of God for my life that day.
Yes, just today.
That's right.
We call that present time, in chiropractic, we call it present time consciousness.
Yeah.
How can I maximize today, the morning, this hour, this minute,
Yeah.
being in the present, maximizing that, and being completely in it,
Yeah.
putting your whole self into every moment, which
Yeah.
is easier said than done.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right. Yep. Yep.
but so yeah, and I'm hearing you say that you pray for wisdom, knowing what to do, which items to address. There's an endless list, you said, and that's my prayer for you and for the NFA is for wisdom, which things to tackle and in what order and who and how.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, there is. But like we talked about, I mean, prayer changes things, and I've seen it, at the Capitol when just there's no way forward, and yet God shows up and creates a way. And it's because people were praying, and it's something we all can be doing. I mean, we feel those prayers, we covet those prayers, and the more people that we have uniting together in prayer. Who knows what God will do?
Yeah. So that's one thing. I'm assuming that this is going to be the first thing that the way you answer my next question, but overcoming obstacles, barriers, and strongholds. How do you identify them, overcome them? Obstacles, barriers, and strongholds.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
Through prayer, for one, I know.
Yeah, without a doubt. Prayer is huge. I think surrounding yourself with the right people.
Tell us about your people, the right people.
Yeah, I mean, so we've got a great board of directors, just some of the best, wisest people that I know. I've been, doing this work a lot longer than I have. And so gleaning from, their wisdom, their discernment, our team, taking on issues together, spend a lot of time, communicating and meeting with pastors from different churches. We can never have too many people, involved in this work, because it takes all of us, and there's something that, each one of us can do. So I think, identifying the right people, surrounding yourself with the right people, seeking God's will, and trusting it to the Lord, and then showing up.
Showing up, that's half the battle.
Yeah.
What came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first for you, the calling or the cause? Or was it the cause, once you identified the cause, you felt called to the cause? Or was it the calling, and then you identified a specific cause?
Yeah, I think...
Sorry.
No, I'm trying to figure, because it was sort of both.
And it can be either, simultaneously?
Really just starting to see and understand more of the need for, just Christ-centered biblical leadership in the realm of government and politics. Our world gets so many things wrong, including how we approach and think about politics. But it turns out, God's word has all the answers for life's biggest questions. And so if we just surrender, this space, this huge sphere of influence, we should be pursuing, Christ-centered leadership in every sphere that we can. And so just seeing more, learning more about, what's happening in government, seeing what's happening in culture, so kind of identifying, seeing those causes, seeing those needs, and then kind of simultaneously feeling that call and that pull to, not just complain about it, but to be, part of the solution to doing something about it.
Sure. You mentioned about, at the end of the day, God holding us accountable to our assignment, to the gifts, to our talents.
Yeah.
From your perspective, what would God say about you at the end when you stand before God and holds you to account? What would you hope He would say about you? What would that sound like? What would that look like?
I think that's not probably. I think that is the one question that everyone has to ask themselves. And it's, it's easier to maybe put that question out of sight, out of mind.
Oh yeah. Because we don't start with the end in mind. We're just in the now.
Right. It's interesting you bring that up. There's actually one of the things I do each day. I have just a little pendant that I wear that says "Memento Mori."
Memento Mori. Okay.
It's Latin, which means "remember you will die," or "remember you must die." And it became a sort of a common or popular phrase in some of the ancient Christianity. Drawing out that theme, remembering that from the dust we came, to dust we shall return.
You're living your now with your end in mind.
Right. Our life is but a mist. So I'll give you a long answer, but you'll understand why. So I'm a direct descendant of the Mayflower.
Okay.
One of my ancestors, William Brewster, was the head elder for the Pilgrims. Lived a pretty incredible life. It was actually, most historians believe it was actually William Brewster who penned the Mayflower Compact. He gave the first Thanksgiving prayer. He was really the spiritual leader for the Pilgrims and what they came to the New World, to establish, and what was born out of that. But in Plymouth, there's a memorial stone in honor of William Brewster. And what it says on his memorial stone is a man that has suffered much for the Lord Jesus and gospel's sake. That's what mattered. That he was faithful to God's calling. It wasn't that he, gave the first Thanksgiving prayer or wrote the Mayflower Compact or helped, create the freest, most prosperous nation in the history of the world.
Which they all contributed to, which he contributed to.
It's that he did and suffered much for the Lord Jesus and gospel's sake. And so I hope that that's what's true of my life. Whenever that day comes, that I will have been faithful and have done much for the sake of the gospel.
So for you personally and as an organization, the NFA, how do you guys measure impact and success?
Yeah.
How can you tell if you're making a difference?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it can be difficult, with what we do because, certainly there's a lot we can do, but there's a lot that we can't.
It's like
we can't, ultimately I don't get to go in to the legislature and vote yes or no on a bill.
Right.
I have to do my best to try and influence things in the right direction. But at the end of the day, there are certain things we can and can't control. So, certainly we try and do as much as we can to stop as many bad bills as we can, to pass as many good bills. This year, by God's grace, every bill that we opposed was successfully defeated, and 8 NFA-supported bills passed into law. So that's a great year for us at the legislature. But I don't think we're defined, by how many bills we do or don't pass. I don't think success is whether or not an election went our way or not. Really, I think we lose when we quit showing up to speak the truth. And so success for us is, did we do what was required of us? Are we being faithful in advancing and defending the truth? And if we can say yes to that, then I think we're being successful.
I'm almost done here. I got 2 more. Thanks for taking these questions, by the way. I really appreciate it. I'm learning a ton. I didn't know about the pilgrim thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what wakes you up in the morning? What gets you up? And then what keeps you up at night?
My kids.
Yeah. Yep. I've got that one before my dog.
Yeah.
When he comes in.
Sometimes they wake you up and you don't want to be up. But no, I mean, it's...
Is it an image? Is it a story you've heard? Is it I don't know, maybe it's a cry, I don't know, a sound?
I think for me, it's...
Is it a win?
Yeah, it's thinking about, everything that's been done, by the faithful people who came before us.
You stand beyond the shoulders.
Exactly. Yeah. Standing on their shoulders.
Because how long has the organization and this cause been?
Yeah, I mean, NFA's 1988.
Okay.
So it goes back, and there's so many people who have fought the good fight, who have sacrificed greatly. The people. My grandfather. I mean, he joined the Marines and fought in the Korean War when he was 17. And so I think about that, and I think to myself, how can I do anything less than give everything that I have to preserve and hand down the same freedoms that were handed down to me for my kids and their kids, to help ensure that they have the opportunity to grow up in a state where the values that we have and that I want them to have, just aren't constantly under attack. And so it's thinking about, our kids and future generations. That's what both keeps me up at night, and it's what wakes me up in the morning.
Good answer. Lastly, how cool was it to have the Husker volleyball team show up and support? And
There, there's.
Do you guys have a relationship in some form?
Yeah.
Was this something
well,
they did?
We do now. No, it's. I will probably tell this story for the rest of my life. So last year, right, we were facing this incredible threat, from this pro-abortion ballot initiative that would create a right to abortion in our state constitution. It would wipe out all of our pro-life laws. It would prevent us from passing new laws. It would allow abortion until birth. And I mean, we were pouring everything we had into defeating that initiative. And it was humbling because, it's getting to the point we were just a few weeks out from the election. And with all the information that we had, all of the polling, it didn't look good.
Didn't look good. God.
We were staring, defeat in the face. And to know what the consequences of this were going to be, knowing that there were, literally lives hanging in the balance.
Exactly.
And to feel like you couldn't get to them, you couldn't save them, was really gut-wrenching. And so we were just, begging God, would you please show up? Would you please do something?
And this is prayer.
Yeah. And
this is on level 1 of the building. You guys are cranking out prayer.
Through these 5 female student athletes, and these are called, 19, 20 years old. Was
no kids.
One of our team members just said, have we thought about seeing if there's any Husker athletes who might help us out? Because we really needed a new, fresh, but influential voice in this. And we thought, well, the worst they can do is say no.
Right.
But this was like a situation where it was, through a friend of a friend of a friend, that we reached out. And we reached out to Rebecca Alec from the Husker volleyball team, and she told us she'd been praying to have an opportunity like that. And so she said yes. We just sent a message to Jordy Ball from the Husker softball team, just through Instagram. And she not only said yes, but she said, "Can I bring some of my teammates with me?"
Oh, wow.
And so, literally, we reached out on like a Wednesday, filmed on Friday, and that ad was airing statewide on Monday.
Wow.
2 weeks before the election.
Wow.
But what I'll also tell you about that is before we shot that ad, again, these are our young college students. And so we were just telling them, we really appreciate you doing this, but want to make sure, you understand. Once this is going to make a lot of news. And once this is out there, we're not going to be able to control
the ripple,
what happens. Coaches might not like it. Teammates might be upset. University certainly isn't going to like it. And there's probably going to be a lot of hate that gets, sent your way, and just want to make sure, that that's going to be a part of this. And without skipping a beat, Rebecca Alec just looked at us and said, "God has given me a platform, and if I don't use it for his purposes, then I shouldn't have it." And I think that's what it looks like to be faithful in following Jesus. And I think that's something that each one of us can do, whatever God has given us, whatever level of influence, whatever resources, our time, our talents, our treasures. Again, it's how do we steward it? How do we use it? It all came to us from God. Are we going to use it to glorify him or not? And they, absolutely, they did get, a lot of kickback. But they didn't care, because they cared about the only thing that mattered.
And they, with the end in mind again, they worked backwards from there, knowing that someday I'm going to have to give an account. Did I stand up for what I believe, for the biblical principles, or did I not say anything? Did I say no?
Yeah, and it absolutely made a huge difference, and praise God.
In the outcome of the election, right?
Yep.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And thanks for taking the time to share with us about this. The NFA, I know you have the Gala coming up. Tell us a little bit about that. as we close out the session.
Yeah, we've got our annual Life and Liberty Gala
Yes.
on August 16th in Omaha.
Bigger, better than ever?
Yeah, that's the hope. That's the goal.
We're taking it down to the midnight hour, right?
Yeah, it's just been it's been amazing to see God has really used it as a catalyst for so much good. We have Bethany Hamilton.
Okay.
People may know her from Soul Surfer, professional surfer who lost her arm in a shark attack as a young girl and has gone on to do some incredible things. She'll be there to share her story and some encouragement. But we always leave just feeling so uplifted, so encouraged. And I think for people who come, we hope that, you have a good meal. You hear some good messages.
It's a fundraiser as well.
Most important, it's been it's a tremendous opportunity to to cast vision, of what God is doing through NFA, but what He still could do, and how people can be a part of that. But I think people get to come and they get to be reminded that they're not alone. That there are other people like them who share their same values, who are standing up for what they believe, and they get to leave and be sent back out, uplifted and encouraged by not what we're doing, not what we've done, but what God is doing and what He has done and what He has for them.
Lastly, what are your affirmations in the heat of the battle? How do you affirm yourself? What do your affirmations sound like? When you're in the ring, when you're face to face with whatever the stronghold, the obstacle, the barrier, what do your affirmations sound like? What do you tell yourself?
I usually don't tell myself a whole lot about myself, but usually what I try to be mindful of.
Remind yourself,
is the people who are opposed to what we believe or who are advocating for something different. They're not the enemy. They're not my enemy.
Right.
In fact, they are the mission field. God chose to love us. He chose to open my eyes to the truth. And there are some people whose eyes have been closed to the truth. And so I can't expect them, to act or react the same way that I do or that I would expect believers to do. Because they haven't been given the truth. But I have the opportunity to show the love of Christ through how I react and how I respond. And so I think keeping that perspective, helps ground me. It's just a good reminder, I think, for all of us that, another person, the other side, whatever that means, whatever that looks like, they are not the enemy.
Right.
We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against rulers and principalities. And so that's always very helpful. Again, it's easier said than done when you're in the middle of it and someone's screaming at you.
Right.
But I just remind myself of what is true,
right,
what's not, and keep our eyes on eternity.
Greater love has no man that he lay down his life for another.
Yeah.
Well,
Amen.
I want to affirm you.
Awesome.
You're doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Don't grow weary in well-doing, because you're making a difference.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking the time. I
thanks so
really
much.
appreciate you. That was
Appreciate it.
fun.
Thank you.
Thanks.